6 BCE Rome. You're a Roman father. Your family carries weight. Respected, wealthy, connected to the names that matter, the circles where power moves. You've done what men like you do. You've arranged the perfect marriage for your daughter. She's 16, maybe 17. Beautiful, educated, raised with precision to embody every ideal Rome demands: virtue, obedience, restraint. She knows when to lower her eyes, when silence is required, that her future was never hers to choose. The wedding unfolds without flaw. The ceremony proceeds exactly as tradition dictates. The feast sprawls, extravagant, loud with laughter, wine flowing, music filling the spaces between conversations. This is what success looks like in your world. Your daughter smiles because smiling is part of her duty. Then comes the final ritual, the one no one discusses openly, the one never described in detail. As she's led away, she turns back once. Her eyes find yours. There's confusion in them, fear, a question she doesn't yet know how to ask. You look away, not because you don't love her, but because you know exactly what's about to happen. And you know you cannot stop it. This is the ritual Rome buried so deeply that historians are still reconstructing it centuries later. What follows is not myth or rumour. It's documented practice, one that exposes a brutal intersection of religion, law and power that forces us to rethink what ancient Rome actually was. Between roughly 300 BCE and 200 CE, Roman marriage law included a provision that appears repeatedly in legal texts, referenced, enforced, but almost never explained. Medieval writers would later call it primi noctis. In Rome, it had another name, ditus deorum, an offering to the gods. Here's what Roman fathers never told their daughters. Marriage in Roman law wasn't partnership. It was transfer of ownership. A woman moved from her father's authority, patria potestas, to her husband's authority, manus. But before that transfer could be finalized, before she could legally become a wife, she had to be purified. That's the exact word used in Roman legal language. Purificari. Rome's foundational legal code, the 12 Tables, contains a short but devastating clause stating that no bride of proper Roman lineage may enter marriage without purification by the appointed guardians of divine will. The priests, specifically the sacerdotes Bona Dea, priests of the good goddess, a fertility cult woven deep into Roman religious life. This is where everything turns dark. Roman religion was transactional. You gave something to the gods gave something back. Grain for fertility, wine for victory, animals for protection, a clean, brutal exchange. But in the case of marriage, the offering wasn't livestock or wine. It was the bride herself. Think about that. You're 16 years old. You've been trained your entire life to obey. You know your duty. You know your place. But no one told you this part. No one explained that before you belong to your husband. You belong to the gods. And the gods demand proof. The law refuses to explain what that proof looks like. Archaeology does. What lies beneath. Across Rome, beneath major temples, researchers have uncovered purpose-built underground chambers. These aren't burial crypts. They aren't storage rooms. They aren't accidental spaces. They are something else entirely. Stone beds carved directly from solid rock. Channels cut into the floor for liquid drainage. Doors engineered to lock only from the outside. In 2003, excavations beneath the temple of Bona Dea on the Aventine Hill uncovered one of these chambers fully intact. What archaeologists found inside changed everything. The walls bore frescoes, scenes the official report described as ritual in nature but not explicitly described. Not explicitly described is academic language for something very specific. We know exactly what happened here. We just don't like saying it out loud. So I'll say it plainly. This was where priests claimed the right to consummate the marriage before the husband. The process followed a strict pattern. After the public ceremony, after the feast, after the laughter faded and the music stopped, the bride was escorted to the temple, not by her husband. He was not allowed to accompany her. Instead, she was led by female attendants, older women who had already endured the same ritual. They guided her down narrow stone stairs, away from torchlight and celebration, into cold corridors beneath the earth. The air was damp, the walls closed in. Every step carried her farther from the world she knew. At the end of the passage stood a door. Behind it waited a priest, or several. The sources disagree on the number, largely because later generations worked very hard to destroy the evidence. The playwright Plautus, writing around 205 BCE, referenced the practice in a comedy that was later heavily censored. Only fragments remain. In one surviving passage, a character says, "The gods take their portion before any man. That is the law. It has always been the law." Another character asks, "And the bride, what does she receive?" The reply, "The blessing of purification if she survives it." That line was removed in later copies. The philosopher Lucretius addressed the ritual even more directly in the 1st century BCE. Medieval monks attempted to erase the passage entirely. We only have it today because a single manuscript survived, rediscovered in 1417. Lucretius wrote, "The rites of Bona Dea are called sacred, but they are terror. What the priest claims to offer the gods, he takes for himself, and the law shields this theft with the word divine." Read that again. The law shields this theft with the word divine. Now understand how this system worked. You are a Roman father. You know this ritual exists. You know your daughter will endure it, but you cannot refuse, because it isn't called violence, it's called religion. It isn't assault, it's purification. It isn't a crime, it's divine law. The system is perfectly insulated against resistance. The priests claim holiness, the law enforces silence, society calls it tradition, and the girls disappear into chambers beneath the temples. What makes this practice so difficult to reconstruct isn't a lack of evidence. It's the silence that was engineered around it. Roman women who survived the ritual weren't merely discouraged from speaking, they were legally forbidden. In 169 BCE, the Lex Voconia introduced strict provisions regarding religious secrecy. Any woman who revealed the mysteries of sacred rites could be charged with impietas, impiety against the gods. The penalties were severe: exile, loss of property, in some cases death. This is why the historical record looks the way it does. The victims were silenced by law, the perpetrators cloaked their actions in holiness, and the men who wrote history were either participants in the system or beneficiaries of it. When later scholars complain that the sources are fragmentary, they're describing the result of a system designed to make speaking impossible. But power always misunderstands one thing about silence. Silence is not the same as forgetting. And when speech is forbidden, people find other ways to testify. In the 1920s, archaeologists excavating a villa in Pompeii uncovered a room that immediately unsettled them. It wasn't sealed by volcanic ash. It had been deliberately walled shut before the eruption of Vesuvius. Someone had hidden it. Inside was a fresco. At first glance, it appeared ordinary, a conventional Roman wedding scene. A bride and groom standing together. Guests gathered, ritual gestures frozen in paint. Everything looked exactly as it should, until you noticed the background. There, almost invisible unless you knew where to look, a second scene unfolded. A woman being led down a staircase by robed figures. Her body twisted backward, her face turned toward a man standing above her, reaching for her, frozen in place, unable or unwilling to follow. The painter had given extraordinary attention to her expression, more care than the bride in the foreground. Fear, confusion, betrayal. The archaeologist who documented the fresco wrote, "The technical precision of the hidden figure exceeds that of the central scene." The painter clearly intended the background image to be remembered. Someone painted that knowing they could never speak openly, painting was safer than testimony, Hiding it was safer still. They sealed the room and trusted time to do what the law would not, preserve the truth. It worked. 2,000 years later, we're still looking at it. After the ritual, the bride was returned to her wedding celebration, sometimes hours later, sometimes not until the following day. Roman wedding customs include a detail that puzzled historians for centuries. The bride appeared before her husband wearing a veil called a flammeum. Unlike other veils, this one was never removed. Not during the ceremony, not during the consummation of the marriage. For a long time, scholars insisted this was about modesty, Roman virtue, proper behavior. That explanation collapses when you read Roman medical texts from the same period. The physician Soranus, writing in the 2nd century CE, casually notes in a gynecological treatise that many brides showed signs of recent injury on their wedding night. He offers practical medical advice, then adds a remark that changes everything. The veil serves a dual purpose. It preserves modesty and it prevents the husband from observing evidence of the purification ritual, which might provoke inappropriate questions. Read that again. The veil wasn't about virtue, it was about concealment. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to share your thoughts in the comments, like and share it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so we can bring more such insightful and informative videos to you. Remember, the joy of spreading knowledge is best when we're all together.